Yeah, I don't know if they feel like mouthing off.
Possibly so. Yeah. Well, that could be a Castleford trait, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've got a Castleford player further down the list as well, haven't we? And Lee Jewett.
Yeah, well, we've just covered 2 off in the centres, so they've dominated this team, if anything. Okay, in the front row, it's Josh Johnson of Huddersfield, Lee Jewett of Cass, and the hooker, surprised me, Lloyd White.
Yeah.
All of those guys giving away more than a penalty per game. But the back row is where it gets really, really tough going.
Yeah.
Sean O'Loughlin's at loose forward. He gives away 1.2 penalties per game. Brett Ferris is in the second row with 1.3 penalties per game. And Danny Kermond, worst performer in terms of penalties per game this season, other than Scott Moore. But Scott Moore didn't play half the games. So worst performer who played more than half the games in terms of penalties per game was Danny Kermond, 1.6 penalties per game.
That's significant. That's significantly more than even Ben Cockayne.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You would say. So,
yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Butterfingers. Sorry, did you have some more comments about those players?
No, I was going to say, so tell me about the Butterfingers.
Right, so this is errors per game, handling errors per game. So this could include forward passes as well as knock-ons, but either way. Fullback is Tony Gigot, the Frenchest Frenchman. Has obviously taken a relaxed attitude to distribution and catching, so 1.7 per game from him. On the wings is winger of the year so far, Denny Solomona, 1.6 errors per game. And Craig Hall, Toronto bound, so they'll hope he improves that 1.7 per game stat. Dan Sargentson and Callum Watkins are in the centres. Dan Sargentson making 1.8 errors per game. Now, when you look at his errors per carry, because he has so many carries, it knocks him way down that ranking.
Right, I see.
But obviously, it's too many errors per game he's making there. And Cal Watkins was, they were the 2 headline names in our error stats, weren't they? Anyway, yes. Albert Kelly is your scrum half with Kevin Brown as his standoff. Albert Kelly, obviously, more than 2 per game. That's the highest. In the forwards, probably doesn't surprise anyone that Adam Cuthbertson's up there. He's tried to push those offloads and they've just not fallen the right way for him this year, and that's led to more than an error per game on average from him. Lloyd White and Grant Millington, so Lloyd White again in there. We've praised him all year and he's looked good when we've seen highlights of Widnes. Maybe we haven't seen enough full games of Widnes.
Yeah, maybe some of our Widnes fans could let us know what the real Lloyd White is like. Maybe it's which picture should we be painting of him.
Yeah, and they fall just below the 1 per game. But all the back rowers are making more than 1 error per game. Joe Wardle's probably played a little bit more in the second row than the centres this year, so he slides in there, and that's 1.2 errors per game for him. Brett Ferris with 1.3 errors, so we said he's had a decent season. Well, he gives away a lot of penalties, makes a lot of errors, he puts your team under pressure quite a lot. And another player who's done similar is Sean O'Loughlin, locking the scrum with 1 missed tackle per game. 1 error per game.
There you go. Okay, so what was the next of Rich's requests then?
He said, which players had the highest winning and losing percentages of games played with a minimum number of games played? Well, we've got 14 players won every game that they played.
Right.
But only Matty Fleming of St Helens played more than 2 games to do that. He played 5 and was 5 for 5.
Wow.
So, good record for him. At the back end of the season, when Saints hit that run of form, this is where Matty Fleming has been part of that journey. Of the players who played more than half the games, though, Kirk Yeaman of Hull FC with 88% win success from the 17 games he played is the most victorious player regular this year. 31 players never tasted victory. Anthony Walker, Ben Garcia and Dan Smith all played the most without winning a game. They played 4 times. Probably Dan Smith's not going to get a chance to rectify that situation. Ben Garcia obviously will in the Super 8s, and Anthony Walker will be playing down a level, won't he? If he does get any games.
Yeah.
But is he on loan at... Well, he might win outside the Super League because he's the one that's gone on loan to...
Oh, he went up to... Cumbria.
Yeah, with Yates coming back the other way last week, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Of the players who played more than half the games, it was Hull KR's George Lawler with an 18% win success from his 17 games played. That has had the most disappointing time.
Poor lad.
So he looks like a decent kid. So I don't want to knock him too much, but it's a curse.
Dane Tilse must hate it when George Lawler gets picked. Oh shit! I'm gonna watch another defeat here. We're gonna, oh god, we're running around. I don't know what's coming.
Following that, Rich asked a question about minutes that related to minutes on the field. Without paying to get stats, we don't get the minutes per game stats for Super League. So, sorry, we're not answering that one.
Yeah.
But then he asked, did teams on average concede more penalties at home or away, and which grounds saw the most penalties on average? Now, I did a blog about penalties midway through last season, and I should have gone back and looked at those numbers to see how they compared to the ones midway through this year at the end of the regular season.
Right.
But I haven't done, so I'll just give you the actual numbers. 7.62 penalties per game for home sides conceding, and 8.6 penalties per game were conceded by away sides. So on average, away teams do get penalised more than home teams in the 2016 Super League regular season. Fans at Widnes's Select Security Stadium saw the most penalties with 193.
Right.
And it was across Chester where fans at nearby Helliwell Jones saw the fewest with 162.
Right.
On average, each team's stadium saw 179 penalties this season.
Fantastic.
And that concludes the number round.
That's number one, Mark. Right. Okay, that's that is all fascinating stuff, though. We'll bring a close to the stat attack, and now we'll take a look back at the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup. Okay, so to the Challenge Cup semi-finals then, and we now know the lineup for the one of Rugby League's showpiece events in August, and we'll start on Friday evening over at a drizzly Donny, Mark. It was attritional. It was 2 tries apiece. I thought the 2 packs were relatively even, but Hull probably slightly more productive in attack, especially in that second half period. Straight after half time, I thought that was probably where the game was won in a lot of senses. But from a neutral point of view, I thoroughly enjoyed the whole experience. It's my first time at the Keepmo. It was a great semi-final in terms of some of the action that went on and what you saw on the field. Some strong defence from Wigan. Hull really had to work hard to break them down and try. They were banging at the door. It was a very, very entertaining semi-final. The Hull FC fans were in vociferous voice. The Wigan fans were passionate, if not innumerate. It was a thoroughly enjoyable occasion. Obviously disappointing from your point of view in terms of the result, but what did you make of the game as a whole?
Well, I kind of think it was a game that could have ended either way, and whichever way it would have ended, I think the winning side could claim to have been deserved winners. Yeah. If Wigan had found a way to get over that line another time just there at the end, then they would have deserved what they'd done for some strong defence at times, and then for some urgent scrambling defence at other times. But then Hull FC were also very, very strong in defence. Depending on who you speak to or whose review you read out later, depends on which team the observers think got away with the most of the ruck. I would say both teams probably got away with a bit at the ruck. Obviously, I'm a biased Wigan fan, so I sort of feel a little bit like maybe some of the things went against us a little bit. Right. But then other things that Hull FC fans will be able to call on that they'll feel went against their side too. So I think overall the referee certainly wasn't a factor, not as much as that 13-year-old boy who was bleating on to his dad about the referee when we were walking out the stadium, thought, the bloke who sat in front of us. Oh God. But there you have it.
Yeah, you were making friends and influencing people everywhere you went on Friday.
I couldn't help it. Yeah. No, I was criticising my fellow fans because I felt like more could have made more effort to turn up. It's not an easy journey, but it's a semi-final. There's a bit of complacency creeped in back now that we're in semi-finals again every year or so. I feel, which I think isn't great. But that aside, I've said my piece to Wigan fans about that. I don't need to probably say it over and over again. I didn't come away feeling like my team was rubbish. I didn't come away feeling like we haven't got a chance to win something this year, but I still come away thinking our attack isn't quite good enough. But then when I think about it, we had a try ruled out for a forward pass, which was a forward pass, but that's from poor execution on our part after actually opening up some space one of the few times we did in the game.
Yeah.
And when you think about it like that, well, we were very close to winning this, just as Hull FC were very close on a couple of occasions to getting more points as well. Both teams came close a few times, and both teams could have won this game. Wigan probably made a few stupider decisions, particularly in the second half when the urgency came on. We started to resort back to that kick, which is just an example of our faltering attack. Hull FC didn't need to do that. They were able to get more arms free and get offloads away, and then Wigan had to cover from the back of that. That try that they scored that opened Wigan up, where the ball just got thrown around their first try.
Ball out of the tomb of Harvey offload.
Yeah, I think there was...
It came off him and it sort of worked his way back.
There was plenty of offloads in there, I think there was an element of luck to that, but I think, fortune favours the brave in that circumstance.
Absolutely.
And then the other try they scored was a gift by a player who very, very rarely makes those sorts of mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate for Don Manfredi that happened to him. But Hull FC earned those positions by making more breaks in the middle of the field, I think. The sides were very evenly matched overall, but Wigan were just a little bit stupider with certain aspects of the game and a little bit less patient in attack. Whereas Hull FC were patient, and then when they did throw chance to hand, it came off. Probably because of the form they've all been in and the confidence they're all carrying, and they deserved it. They won and they deserved it, and well done to all their fans. And good luck in the final.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely be cheering Hull FC on in the final. I don't think there's any reason to hide that, given that they're from Yorkshire. I'll definitely want the Yorkshire team to win.
I have no horse in that race.
Who do you cheer for in that one? The team that beat you or Warrington?
Well, Wigan play Hull FC the week after the final. So the primary thing for me is make it a result, so we don't have to mess our fixtures around if they're having a replay.
I see, yeah.
So that's the primary concern. But also, just either completely battered and deflated or completely battered from nights out is what I want.
One way or another, you're going to get that, are you? Just a line on Mahe Fanua. Did you hear? I've not seen anything in the paper. He went off, took a pretty serious head knock, completely accidental.
Well, it was poor technique on his part.
But obviously no intent from anyone else.
He got all the medical care you'd think he would.
He was down for a while. Have you seen anything?
I've not seen anything. No, and before that, he was very, very dangerous. He was running at Wigan's weaker side, with Tierney and Gildart not being the biggest and not being the most experienced. And he was making hay there. Although Fetuli Talanoa was doing the same. Well, more when he came into the middle off quick play of the balls. But he was a strength for them. All the Islanders weren't they? Frank Paul. Frank Pritchard.
Yeah.
He had a bit of an injury, we thought.
Looked like he got back up, but he just kept going, didn't he?
Yeah.
So fair play to him. The only other thing I'd touch on is Sam Tompkins' performance. The first time I've seen him live this year, I've watched him on TV, and it's not quite as easy to just focus on a player or watch a guy for a period of time. But there were two sides to him. I felt on Friday. The side that I enjoyed watching was his defensive. Or some of his defensive performances, like the try-saving tackle that he made on Gaz Ellis. That was a matter of millimetres away from going over, and credit to him for that, because that sends the game in a completely different direction. But I was disappointed by the amount of times he just sort of put the ball in. I mean, you probably see this more often, but it felt to me like he was putting the ball in Tierney's hand a lot more when he was returning kicks. And actually, the one time he got to the line and put the pass at the line rather than passing early was the time that you created some space and a gap. And I don't know, do you think he's looking after himself? Do you think he just doesn't back himself? Is he finding his way back into the team and getting to know a new set of players around him? What do you think the crack is? Because from my point of view, I want to see a functioning, playing at his best Sam Tompkins from an England perspective.
Before the Wakefield game, he picked up an injury, I think, either late in the first half or very early doors in the second half, and that knocked him. And then he made a few mistakes. He missed the Leeds game, made a couple of mistakes in the Saints game, and then made the mistake that actually I think the referee should have put the scrum down to Wigan still on for the Jamie Shaw. I've not seen the replay, so I don't really know what necessarily happened after. But Sam Tompkins didn't knock it forwards. So, and I thought Jamie Shaw then knocked on by not being able to ground it, which to me would be